Hello and welcome back to the Bourbon Bar. I'm Holden and today I'm going to be reviewing my number one bourbon of 2021, Brothers Bond Bourbon. Let's get right into it. Now, if you guys haven't checked out my top 5 bourbons of 2021, I will link it up there for you guys to click on it, check it out, leave a like, and that will kind of give you a precursor as to why I'm doing this review. Now, let's get right into this bottle. Brothers Bond Bourbon is something I hold near and dear to my heart, not only because I secretly like watching the Vampire Diaries, don't tell my girlfriend, but honestly, I love the show. It's great, it's fantastic. Now, if you guys don't know what the Vampire Diaries is, you must be living under a rock because it was one of the most popular shows back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. The show started in about 2008, I believe, and went all the way into 2016 to 18. I can't remember exactly which one, but it was a hit show and it's something that I loved watching and I've watched multiple times, believe it or not. But two people from that show, Ian Somerhalder and Paul Wesley, came together to make their very own bourbon. And I know what you're thinking, celebrity whiskey? Psh, that stuff sucks. Well, let me just preface this by saying these two people love bourbon. They spent their time on the show drinking bourbon as their characters enjoyed drinking bourbon, and they really bonded over whiskey, hence the name Brothers Bond. But it's something that I appreciate as a bourbon enthusiast is when a celebrity doesn't just slap their name on a bottle just to make a quick buck. These two people have put in time, effort, money, everything into this brand to help grow it, and they love the spirits, they love the craft, and they love the community. And if you're unaware of this and you haven't had it yet, go pick it up. I think they have it in most states now, or a lot of places can get it off of Reserve Bar, and it's great stuff. One thing I love about this whiskey is that every purchase of this whiskey gives back to regenerative agriculture, which is something these two people really pride themselves on. They love our environment and they want to keep it healthy, and something super cool is that I believe their long-term goal is to be self-sufficient, and so that they're not using anything from the world that they haven't given back when making this product for us to enjoy. And that's something that's very, very important, as I'm sure you're aware, we can't just keep using everything without return, because eventually we'd run out of the stuff that we enjoy so much. So that being said, let's get right into the bottle and into the review so you guys know why you came here. Now, there's a bunch of different options you can buy when purchasing this bottle online, but if you feel like splurging a little bit extra, you can get this super cool Glencairn glass that they designed themselves, and they honestly designed everything themselves. It says MGP whiskey, but it is a 4-grain, 80 proof, about $40 retail, and I know what you're thinking is that's expensive, but when you think about the fact that you're giving back to the environment and everything that they put in to make this happen, it's really, really good whiskey, and I promise you guys that. If you like Brown-Forman products, Woodford Reserve, and Old Forester, you guys are going to love this. It's fantastic. They picked out the bottle shape, they picked out the bottle of their glassware, they have many different glassware. They even have Brothers Bond rocks glasses, which are super cool. And in case you guys wanted rocks glasses, you can check it out. But that's enough of that. We can talk more about it later. Let's get into the review. Yep. Right away on the nose, we're getting some banana nut bread, exactly as they claim. It's a little bit florally, but not overly florally. Super sweet, super banana nut muffin. There's caramel in there and toffee, like butterscotch. And the deeper you put your nose in the glass, the more you just get that rich, rich flavor of banana nut. And it's really a Brown-Forman special. But I think what makes it stand out is that it's actually a 4-grain whiskey. So there is a bit of wheat in here, but they didn't cut out the rye. That being said, it brings that kind of funky florally notes that some people love. And I happen to like this one very much. This is only 80 proof. But they are coming out with higher offerings in the future. I believe they said Q1 of 2022 should have either bottled in bond or cask strength whiskey, bourbon, and they're going to be coming out with a rye as well. So let's go ahead and get in on the palate here. And something else that I super enjoy about this whiskey is how simple it is. Now, I'm not saying it's simple in a bad way. The mouthfeel of this is great. It's not overly thin and watery the way a lot of people approach 80 proof whiskeys, but you know, it is easy to drink. And they all say it's smooth, but that's because part of the reason they designed this whiskey is for people who haven't had the experience to drink a lot of whiskey and a lot of bourbon, but they wanted to get into it. But it also has enough in there for a bourbon connoisseur like me, and probably you guys watching this, to really enjoy the whiskey in the bottle. Now, on the palate, you get that sweet caramel and a little bit of oak spice into it. There's baking spices in here, and that banana almost comes through a little bit, but hardly on the palate. I would say that baking spice would be like a fresh baked loaf of bread. If you had banana nut bread, but you didn't quite get a banana in the bite that you bit onto, but you can definitely tell it's in there just a little bit. Super delicious. It's a little bit florally, not quite perfumey, but almost like there's a bouquet of flowers sitting there next to the banana bread, and if you made those flowers and you maybe smelt them, or you just know they're there, but they're not quite in your face or in your mouth anyway. That caramel note is super accentuated on the palate right away, and that oakiness. This is, I believe, a 4-year bourbon, and honestly, the oakiness is prevalent but not over exaggerated. It's fantastic whiskey. As it sits here and opens up a little bit, you do get a little bit more of that banana on the palate. You can tell it's a bit fruity, but it's that kind of dull fruit that a banana gives you. It's not anything bright and potent. It's citrusy, not even a little bit, but it's more like that soft banana notes that Brown-Forman gives you. And when they were working with the master distillers, they took a lot of inspiration off of Woodford Reserve, and they took a lot of inspiration off of Old Forester when creating this, and so that's something super cool. But overall, this whiskey is just simple, easy to drink, perfect to bring somewhere where you don't want to really think about it as much. But you could also, if you have friends who wanted to get into bourbon, this is a wonderful one to give them, because they'll be able to drink it without sneering at it and putting their nose up to it, you know. It's sweet, it's delicious, it's everything I look for in a bourbon. Overall, very delicious. Now, let's talk about price and proof and my grade and the reason why I made it my top whiskey of 2021. So it's time to talk about the price of this bottle and the proof of this bottle and why it made my top bourbon of 2021. And that's because when I first started drinking bourbon, I kind of was just going with the motion. I was drinking bullet bourbon. I had a little bit of Buffalo Trace here and there, but I kind of just drank the same thing over and over again. Didn't really get into it that much until I got this bottle of whiskey and I got this lovely booklet. Now, this whiskey was made to turn people on to bourbon, and something that I love about it is its transparency and how they really kind of guide someone who hasn't drank a lot of bourbon. Now, this booklet is wonderful. It's got lots of recipes in it, but most importantly, if you're a beginner, it has a tasting guide that tells you how to nose it, look at the color, take a sip, taste it, kind of dive for those different tasting notes, and it's honestly wonderful. And this is 80 proof whiskey. It's $40 at MSRP, which is honestly not horrible. I've seen worse, Basil Hayden, but you know, it's something that they're giving back to regenerative agriculture, and it's something that we all look past, but if we really think about it, it's good to know that our money is going somewhere useful. And so this is a 4-grain high rye bourbon. It's 65% corn, 22% rye. The other two are a secret so that other people can't take it. They worked very hard over many years to come up with this. They tasted it all themselves. They picked out and they went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tastings trying to get this down pat. And this is Copper Column and Copper Pot distilled. And it is aged for a minimum of 4 years in barrel staves with a number 4 char and barrel heads with a number 2 char. Like I said, wonderful whiskey. I'm going to go ahead and give it a grade. My grade for this whiskey, it gets an A. And the only reason it doesn't get an A+ is because I know they're coming out with something extra, and I know they're coming out with something even more special. The cask strength, the bottled and bond, the rye. I mean, this is just the beginning of what they have to offer, and I love it. I think if I was going to get anyone to start drinking whiskey, this is what I would give them. I would show them how it's something that you can really enjoy, and honestly, the whole point of this bottle is just bond with people that you love and people that you care about, and the message behind it is so sincere and so nice that it makes me want to share whiskey with people and get people into bourbon. And so that's something that's super important to me, and I think it should be super important to you if you guys love drinking bourbon as much as I do. That being said, that's it for the review. If you like this video, please like it. Leave a comment in the comment section if you had this, or if you watched the Vampire Diaries like I have and you enjoyed it. Let me know if you don't, because honestly, your opinion's wrong, but if it's also your opinion. So leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you in the next class.